Hi, it's Teresa, and you're listening to You Can Tell Me Anything, and this is the very first episode. So before we get started, can you guys do me a favor? Open iTunes, click rate and review, and subscribe. It would really help us get the word out since it is an all-new show. If you like the music, that's thanks to Chris Corlew. You can find him at shipwrecksailor.bandcamp.com. Also, thank you to Cody Johnson for making the theme song. Hey, you guys haven't heard the theme song yet, huh? Okay, well, anyways, here it is. Bye!
You can tell her anything. She's a real good listener. You can tell her anything.
Welcome to You Can Tell Me Anything. I'm Teresa Lee, and I'm your host. This is a podcast where people confess things to me because I'm a pretty good listener, and nobody's told me that, but I'm telling you that now, so you can decide for yourself if it's true or not. And also because therapy is expensive, and most of the time you go to therapy to talk about things, get things off your chest. We can't all do that. I know I have not been able to go since I left my full-time job with benefits. So... And some people go to church, but, you know, church is also kind of pay to play. They ask you for donations after every...
I've never heard someone describe church the way that they describe Hillary Clinton.
It's like a bringer show, you know. You're always trying to get people to go with you. It feels like there's something going on there.
You get 10 blessings if you bring 10 people.
Right. So, you know, it's not for everyone, but talking is for everyone. So.
I go to therapy, but it's weird.
It is?
Because it's for like a very specific group of people.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's a group therapy.
It's free therapy, but it's for people who are struggling from PTSD, either from heavy drug usage or gang violence.
Whoa.
So she filters all of our talks through that lens. And I don't have anything to do with either of those two groups.
How did you... Wait, first of all, the voice you're hearing is... since you guys heard him already, I'm going to introduce him right now. I'm very excited to have Edgar Momplaisir on as our guest today. You know him from... He has a podcast. Remind me what your podcast is called again.
It's called Culture Kings on How Stuff Works.
Yeah, it's a new podcast. Well, you guys hosted it before, but now it's on How Stuff Works.
That is correct.
With Carl Tart. And is there a third host?
Jaquise Neal.
Edgar, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
How did you get into group therapy if you're not
it's
filtered through?
singular, but there is group stuff with it. But I got it because I was going to the Southern California Counseling Center, and they were charging me like $12, and it was cheap for a bit.
For one session?
Yeah.
That's great.
You should check it. You should look into it.
For a single, or it's all group?
Single.
Oh, wow.
So
I should
then
look into that.
I skipped like 3 in a row because I couldn't afford the Uber to get out there. It's like on Pico. And
that's far.
After you skip 3, you can't go back. But the therapist, she dug me so much that she recommended me to this thing, which is free, but it is under that very specific guise. And it's like, it's very weird. Like, because there is a group element to it too. Mm-hmm. And then I remember one time she's like, do you want to do the group element? And I was like, no, because like, I don't want to like go to the group and have someone be like, yeah, you know, I really am proud of myself for not taking heroin. Like, you know, I really fought that. All right, Edgar, what's going on with you? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the funniest person on my Herald team. And that gives me a lot of anxiety.
Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know if I could do group therapy. I guess like open mics are sort of have that communal feel. But
absolutely. But you all have the same problems.
Yeah, everyone has the same problem. But group therapy, I just feel like I would get selfish. Because I talk so much in therapy that like when I go, that whenever time's up, I'm like, no, but I have more to say.
Yeah.
In group therapy, you're splitting that time with so many people.
Wow.
Or I feel like I would want to like outshine
people. Do you
people.
get into it like right away when you show up?
Oh, I used to have a hard time doing that because I had a cool therapist and I wanted her to like me. Like she was kind of young and hip, and so I'd always try to like update her about my life, the things that don't matter just like, oh, here's something cool that happened to me.
Yeah.
And then she would talk with me, and then 15 minutes would go by, and then I'd be like, wait, no, can we just talk about how I'm sad? Like I would have to shift really fast.
It's difficult. Mm-hmm. It's difficult to get into it. That's my issue currently. It's like the first 40 minutes is her like trying to pull information out of me. Then I start getting really hype in the last 5 minutes. And then she's like, well, we have to go now. So thanks for opening up in the last 5 minutes.
It's good that your therapist tries to pull stuff out. I feel like mine would just like go with the flow. And then one time I told her, I was like, you know, you can like try to get me to say more things.
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay, what do you want me to ask you? And then
Oh, I hate that. That's so. Ask me what the fuck you're supposed to ask. Ask me about my father. Like, I don't know.
I want
like,
her to do the work. Like, I'm
Yeah.
paying her for that. But then I started writing things down during the week because I think the hardest part for me was like whenever I felt like I, was having a hard time was when I was alone. So then I'd have all these thoughts. And then once I was in therapy, it's usually like sunny, it's the weekend, and I'm excited to have someone to talk to. So that moment, I'm always feeling good. And so I don't want to get sad. And so that was the hard thing, is like getting back to the sad stuff.
Yeah.
But when I wrote things down, it helped. I would just like pull out my phone and be like,
I wrote this down to talk about this.
Yeah.
That's a very good note that I will take.
Yeah, it's like prepping for a mic and stuff. Everything is related to comedy. Maybe comedy is why I'm sad. Who knows? Could be.
This is a common thing for me when I come on podcasts, is that I put the guest or the host in their own head.
Oh, wow.
And they start breaking down in front of me.
This is just how I talk. Do you feel like do you feel like cathartic after doing stand-up? Or, I mean, improv is also very cathartic.
I haven't done stand-up in a very long time. I don't remember the last vivid memory I have of doing stand-up was this one time I bombed at the Comedy Store, which was probably 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
And
guess that's not a good
haven't done
memory,
it
but
since then.
bombing is sometimes. I feel like whenever I haven't bombed for a while, I'm like relieved to bomb because I just feel like, oh, I'm due for.
You could get it off of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I feel about improv. Improv is very much so cathartic for me. I love doing it on a bad day. I love doing it when I'm upset. I like doing it when someone I don't like is in the audience, because that is also very cathartic to like
Why?
kill.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you've ever had that experience.
I've
It's
never
an experience
I
I've had a
didn't
lot.
do improv that. I did improv a little bit, but I was never on a Herald team. But I did have that with dance when I was younger. Not like someone I didn't like, but like a crush or something. I used to I would practice my dance routines and then imagine that like my crush was in the audience.
Oh my gosh.
And then I would
that's
feel
so sweet.
It was like it gave me like confidence.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure they were just watching everybody else, but I'd be like, they're looking at me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to build up that esteem, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't do that with comedy, but it is like everyone's just looking at you all the time.
Yeah.
But do you have a confidant person you, besides, I guess you go to therapy, so that's probably, or like outside of therapy, is there somebody you tell things to, secrets and...
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of people. Well, my girlfriend would be one. And then there's my friend, Janine Hogan. That's someone I tell a lot of stuff to. And then Lacey Mosley.
What makes somebody a good listener?
What makes someone a good listener? I almost said something very sexist, and I'm not going to repeat it.
Oh, no.
But
We're just going to say woman?
Yeah, that really was. Like, that was the first thought that came to my mind. All those people have that in common.
I don't know if that's sexist, because I feel like the sexist thing to say is like, women talk too much.
No.
So you're kind of remembering them for the opposite.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I've had a lot of female friends in my life, and it's always been like, I mean, I guess it's technically very emotional labory that I'm like, hey, let's take in all this stuff real quick. But they've always been there, and it's always helped me really process stuff, especially dating stuff. Like, my friend Janine is amazing at it, of like, I'll tell her what's going on, and she'll be like, you're totally looking at this from the wrong lens. And then she'll reframe it, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is what's going on. And it's all better.
It is good to get advice from a different perspective. Okay, well, this podcast is about confessions, but not all confessions are bad. So I like to start off by asking the guests to make a good confession, which is like a good deed you did that nobody knows about, or just something you're proud of, or achievement, anything like that. But
yeah. Well, this is what came to mind was I was in this movie called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. It's a new Gus Van Sant movie.
Whoa, he's one of my favorite directors.
Oh, really? It's getting decent
That's
reviews,
so cool.
Be excited. I have a very, very small part in it, and I was on Great News earlier this year and totally got cut. So I was very worried that I would get cut. So I messaged my friend who's at Sundance. I was like, hey, can you go watch this movie and let me know if I got cut? And he was like, you didn't get cut.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that's I was like, hey, I'm kind of proud of that I stayed in a movie.
That's great.
Yeah.
I like that. I mean, it's so casually, just like have connections everywhere. Like, oh, I just called my friend up at Sundance, but like just.
Oh, I don't know why he's there. I have a guess as to why, but I don't know. I think he's like a producer's assistant. I don't know.
That's cool though.
It's not like he's like at Sundance to like be at Sundance. You know what I mean? I don't know.
He's out there rubbing elbows.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a great achievement.
Yeah, it was dope to not get cut. It's a weird phenomenon.
Yeah, to feel proud of something you've done, and then you have to wait so long to find out if it's ever gonna see the light of day or not.
That's why I didn't tell anyone about Great News. And then my girlfriend told people, and I said, please don't. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get cut. And she did it anyways. And then I was cut, and I was like, this was a terrible experience for all the people to watch the episode and be like, you were basically just an extra. And I was like, I had lines.
I do this.
They were very funny.
I do this thing, or I used to. I guess now it does. I don't really as much, but I used to. If I got close to something and I didn't think I was going to get it, like if I was on the second round or something, I would tell people because I knew I wasn't going to get it. So for a moment, I could be excited, and then I would never get it. And then, and then I'm the same way. If I think that I'm close or I maybe have a shot, I won't mention it to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. My thing is like I can't talk about it because if I talk about it, I won't get it.
I mean, maybe it is superstitious, but I think maybe it's like your brain's way of being like, I don't know. It's like a self-defense thing. The last time, maybe this is more with dance than comedy, but I auditioned for the Brooklyn Nets, like the dancers.
Oh, wow.
They were called like Brooklyn Nets, like ETTES. And I wasn't ever going to get it, but I got to the semifinals. And so I like told everyone because I knew I wasn't going to make it. So I was like, oh, I'm a semifinalist. Like, blah. And then, of course, I didn't get it. So then for 2 days, there was a chance, and everyone was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get season tickets." Oh man,
and that just felt good, like in that little bit. Yeah, no, I could see that. For me, it's like for Harold, the whole 3 months leading up to Harold, I just told everyone I wasn't gonna audition because I didn't think I was gonna make it, and then last minute I auditioned. I made it
the first time you did it?
Yeah, it was
3 months of prep.
3 months of just like everyone being like,
just
you know,
people
like
talk about it.
Yeah, like once it comes around, everyone's just like, oh, you're gonna, and I just told everyone I wasn't going to. Like I was
so
like,
stressful. I forgot about that. I mean, I did UCB in New York, and I love it, and I like the community, but I never got deep enough in doing improv to really feel like the politics of it, because I auditioned a few times, but it was, you know, I was like very early in, so I hadn't had any expectations yet.
It's my least favorite time of year. From like August to September is my least favorite time of year because it's like that first month of everyone like waiting for them to come. It's just like everyone's super anxious and being all weird. Like I remember my friends would like not tell me what they were up to, but it was because they were in like practice groups and stuff getting ready.
Like
and I was just
like
practice
groups.
Guys, it doesn't matter if I know or not. I have no like power over anything. And then afterwards, the bitterness of people who don't get on, it's just like, it's a lot. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot. As an empath, I can't handle it.
I mean, I've heard that word used before, but never really, it just means you feel things for other people?
Yeah, well, it's like I'm deeply affected by how other people feel.
Do you actually feel like you can pick up on vibes or?
100%.
So if someone walks in the room and they're having a bad day, you're like,
and
whoa, get away from me.
Day. Yeah.
Wow.
I care too much.
Does it go the other way? If someone like brimming with good news, you're like, oh, I can't wait. That's cool. That's very exciting. Maybe you're psychic.
No, I can't. Like, it's just like I'm very in tune. Like, it's very obvious. Like, if that like, you know, someone could be having a bad day in the corner. If you're not attached to that person, you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But I just deeply start getting anxious.
How am I feeling?
Like I don't know.
Read my mood. I'm treating you like a fortune teller, but that's not what empaths do.
No, it's not.
The way it's described.
I've described it so clearly, and you refuse to accept it and keep trying to make it into a psychic
really love
thing.
the idea of people just being able to tell me information about myself. I used to sign up for dating websites just to do the personality quizzes. Because there's stuff I would like open up accounts like OkCupid.
I have a guess that you're slightly a narcissist. Is that
maybe, or just neurotic about? I think I'm never quite sure about like who I am.
Yeah.
So maybe that makes me a narcissist. But I constantly want to know like where do I stand?
Yeah.
It's like the
same.
Not being able to see. It's I think a like Carl Jung thing where you can't see the shadow part of yourself. I always feel like that's me. I'm always like, well, I wish I could just like see the space I'm taking up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think depression, I don't know. I don't know if that's something you feel like you struggle with. I don't want to diagnose you, But I think it's inherently.
Did you pick that up with your empath powers?
Yeah, I did. I think it's inherently narcissistic.
Oh wow.
Just because like I just left an Uber pool and I walked out of it thinking like, man, I really hope that they're not going to talk about me after like they leave. That's such a narcissistic thought. Like, it's a depressing thought, but it's also narcissistic to think that I'd be important enough for this Uber pool driver and this other Uber pool rider to be like, let's talk about this person that doesn't matter to us at all.
But everybody, by that logic, everybody is a narcissist because
I think so.
Everybody, even happy people, are narcissistic because they choose to ignore the
realities of the world.
The realities of the world. Because I mean, if you're looking, everything's depressing. So
yeah, if you just open your eyes for 30 seconds,
wake up, sheeple.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of depression and talking, is there anything you want to tell me?
Yeah. This is a story that I've only told parts of it to people. I haven't told people the whole story.
It's a real secret. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a pretty big secret. Allow me to paint you a picture to begin.
Okay.
We open on a Northern California campus. I'm just kidding.
Wow. I was like, this is a real script.
I
could tell you've been in a movie.
I've been in many. I'm just kidding. I went to a very conservative, well, by standards of the regular world, very conservative school in Northern California. My parents are of a religion called Adventism.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar.
Is like Seventh Day Advent?
Yeah.
Is it kind of like end of the world?
I guess that's a part of it, but that's not the part that like is super important. An easy map that I use for people is the Asian character on Gilmore Girls is a Seventh-day Adventist. So just watch Gilmore Girls and it'll explain my religion perfectly. But it's very strict. And my parents, when I told them I wanted to go to film school, they joked and were like, you can only go to film school if you can find an Adventist film school. And I found this university in Northern California that offered film. Because it was very strict, I didn't work there at all. Like me as a person who I became in high school, like around like 16, I was just like, fuck God, he's not real. And I started this whole rebellious phase and that kind of went into college. So because of that, I got in a lot of trouble with this department of the school called public safety, which is essentially the security guards. And I had gotten busted a couple of times for drinking. Drinking was like very against the rules. It's a dry lifestyle school, which means as long as you're a student there, whether you're of age or not, you can't drink.
Oh, wow. How big was the school?
About 1,000 kids, not very
small.
big.
Okay.
So it's pretty easy to control something like that. There were like snitches that would like go to parties and like write people's names and be like, these are the people who were out drinking on Friday night.
Oh no. That sounds awful.
Some bars had worked it out with like the deans of the school to like tell them if a PUC kid had gone there.
What?
It was pretty intense. So because of a lot of this, I would go out of my way to prank and or humiliate the public safety department. Like I would do things like well, if I saw them driving at night, they usually like circle the campus. I would harass them by like being like, what up, bacon? Or like just talk about pigs very, very loudly while they were around. And one thing I started doing is there was this very specific officer named Sean Westenrider, and he had a big mustache. Just, you could tell that this dude really wanted to be a fucking cop. And anytime I saw him, I would gather up everything in my throat and spit super big next to him. And I did that. This was like when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, just being a little shit, right? I remember one time I like asked the school if there's like a way you could file an official complaint about someone. And I just filed this long complaint about what a fucking idiot he was. Just the shit to like get under his skin a lot because I hated them.
What made you single him out? Just the mustache?
Because he just looked so much like a cop. And the only experience I had with him is that he had drug tested one of my friends who was 17.
Oh, wow.
She was like a freshman and she was 17. And I was like, that's completely unethical. You can't do that. So like I would like draw. I remember one time the school paper tried to like do like a profile and like meet public safety. They're not as bad as you think. And I like drew on his face and put it everywhere. I would take like laundry detergent and put it in the school fountain. Just like stuff that I knew would get their attention. It was just stuff I knew that would get their attention. Like drawing penises in very specific places. Just things to get them riled up. we flashed like 4 years, because I went to college for 5 years, because those first 2 years I just smoked a ton of pot. And my 5th year...
It is Northern California, so we just assumed that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did
Very
you grow
good
up
assumption.
in the Bay?
No,
Okay.
I'm from New York, but I went to high school in Texas.
Oh, wow. I grew up in the Bay, so.
Oh, nice. Where at?
Palo Alto.
Okay, nice. I know some peeps from around there.
Mark Zuckerberg? No.
No,
He's actually not
just
from
James Franco.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Well,
kidding.
no. Not going to talk about that.
No, not at all.
There used to be a path behind my high school that
Mm-hmm.
was called The Path, and like back in the 60s and 70s, it was just where everyone went to smoke weed, and it was like a hippie
Oh, nice.
hangout area. And then when I was in school, it wasn't that, but all the stoners would go there to smoke. But James Franco did mention The Path in his book, but don't go by it. So
He didn't mention it in his movie Palo Alto
I didn't watch that.
about him having
movie.
a crush on his high school student.
I think the book was. I think the movie was based on one story from the book.
Oh, wow.
But
What a weird
anyways,
movie in context.
Yeah.
So basically, like my 5th year, I was on top of my shit because I had to be. Like if I wasn't, I'd end up going to college for 6 years. So like I was like taking like 24 credits in a quarter, just like really trying to like get my shit together. And I had a huge character change. Like a lot of people were just like, this guy's different now. Like freshman, sophomore year, everyone at my school thought I was a massive dick because I was. Like I would do like these elaborate pranks and stuff and like these big calls for attention. So one day while I was sitting in school, I had gotten a letter from the administration saying, you're expelled immediately. Like just instantly. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I didn't understand what was happening. And it just drew me into like this panic. So then I just like tweeted like PUC's trying to expel me because of my bad character. And all these people started retweeting it and like a lot of people started commenting on it and like blew up into this thing of like everyone trying to defend me. So what had happened was there was this taco shop in like this town right outside of my school where I was going. I was eating tacos and that guy, Sean Westenrider, had come with his family. And I had bought my girlfriend at the time an Arizona iced tea and she didn't finish it.
Ooh, good tea.
And I remember being very upset.
Yeah,
I was
those
like,
cost
I bought
$1.
you this whole thing. So I tried to chug it, but like the taste of the taco in my mouth and it didn't taste good. So I spit into the trash can. He then told the administration that I had done this to embarrass him in front of his family. So the school suspended me on violation of having bad character.
What?
And I like had a judicial meeting where they said like the school's judicial system at my like it's very weird. The rules are you don't go there to defend yourself, you go there to apologize. Like you're going there to like say like this is why I'm sorry. I didn't go in there with that
It's
agenda.
like that's like a parent kind of thing. They're like,
It
are you
very much
ready
so,
to
yeah.
say you're sorry?
Very much so. So like you're supposed to go in there apologetically and you're supposed to bring in a teacher as like your counsel to speak on your behalf of your character. A lot of it has to do with character at my school. Like, are we making good Christian men and women? So like I didn't bring a teacher. I just went myself and I was just like, I'm gonna go in there and just like I clowned on them. I made fun. Like I was just so upset. And it basically turned into this thing where like one of my friends came up with the idea of I was known for like wearing a beanie kind of like slinked back. So like all these people like were like Edgar's innocent. Like the school's just messing with him because of his past behaviors and stuff like that. They just want to like single him out and embarrass him. So we're all going to show up to like every Thursday. My school had like a chapel service that everyone was required to go to. And a lot of people, a significant amount of people, I don't want to say like the whole school, because again, there were some people who were just like, yeah, get rid of this fucking asshole. But they all showed up with beanies, like the color that I wore. And like, you know, it kind of forced the president to acknowledge my situation. And she was able to forgive me to the point where I was allowed to be a student, but I wasn't allowed on the campus anymore.
What?
I mean, not on the campus, on the dormitory grounds.
Oh, so you
I
had
couldn't go to. I had to find like housing.
So just straight to class. Okay.
Straight to class, hang out with the kids in the caf and stuff. But I couldn't go to the dorms. So I had to like find my own housing and stuff.
Did
like
this
that.
spread beyond your school? Because you said you tweeted it. Was it?
Yeah,
something
there were a
that-
couple of people that had retweeted outside of my school. I remember there was like this like weird blog that was like popular amongst like younger liberal Adventists that like talked about my story and stuff like that. I remember the school paper like did it like something about me, like, you know, like it was a huge like Edgar's innocence thing.
Uh-huh.
So my secret is I am 1000% not innocent.
Oh no!
I 100% did it on purpose. I saw him, immediately was flashed to all the reasons why I strongly dislike him. Saw that I had this whole can of Arizona, chugged it, and spit into that trash can while making very deep eye contact with him.
Oh my God. Was his family all there
Oh,
watching?
of course. Of course, he was deeply embarrassed by it because it was full of aggression.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
But I feel very guilty because a lot of people put effort into like speaking on my behalf. There were some other things that kind of happened that really screwed me over as well. But like,
Did anyone ask you like, "Hey man, just be real. Like, did you do it?" And
no, because like it was like I had changed. Like, so like you have to understand, I was a little shit. Like,
what's
my
this change?
freshman-
So I know you said you had a big character change and you
Yeah.
learned a bunch over the like summer or whatever. Is there some example of that, or you just sort of stopped doing pranks?
Well, I think one big example that could like be physical, and I've talked about this on other podcasts before, is like when I got to when I left high school. In high school, I was kind of like, again, having a lot of girls as friends and stuff like that. I was kind of like a term that my friends used to call me, and I don't really like this term, but they called me an emotional tampon, which like, you know, I would like hang out with girls.
That's
and,
the
like,
empath.
Yeah, and they would like, you know, they would talk to me about guys and stuff like that, and I would always be there for them. And then my friends, you know, my guy friends would be like, "She's never gonna fuck you, dude. You need to stop wasting your fucking time." So
In
like
high school?
in high school, they would like,
I love when high school
really-
kids are like, "Yo, you gotta get pussy," and you're
Yeah.
like, "You're 16 years old."
and where are you getting this pussy? Where? How does it work? Your parents are always home. So when I got to college, I was like, I'm gonna become a big douchebag like that, and I like made up a fake last name, which was Van Aces. This is all
That
very
is a
real.
douchebag last
It was
name.
super douchey, and like I had this mantra, which was "No dumb bitches," and like I was an outward douche. Like it was like very real. I outwardly would do bad things. Like, you know what I mean? Like one thing I'd like to do is if I saw someone eating their lunch, I would sit in front of them, look them in the eye, and start eating from their plate as well. Just like this stupid shit like that. Like I had this like really rough.
You're like the bully.
I think, well, when I talked about it with someone else on this other podcast, I can't remember, but what it was it was Brittany Ashley. So what it was I think I hated myself a lot. And like, you know, I was struggling with depression and stuff like that. And I couldn't figure out what it was. So I would outwardly do things to receive the inward feeling I felt was justified.
That makes sense. You're like projecting a little bit because you see the world in a way that isn't great at that time.
Yeah.
So you are putting negative energy out. So it feels like it matches.
Exactly. I felt terrible inside, and I was just like, well, everyone must think that I'm terrible then. And I was self-destructive. But like a lot of things had happened from like, you know, my freshman year to my super senior year that kind of changed that. Like I started going to therapy. You know, I had like some struggles with like suicide and stuff like that. This is like a lot of humbling moments. Like one big humbling moment was I like attempted suicide. Someone turned me in, and then like I spent like a night in like, you know, a unit, you know what I'm saying?
wow.
And like that like really humbled me, and kind of like I was like, oh, okay, this is like
Yeah.
this is real shit. So I think I had just done a lot of growing up from like 18 to, what was I at that time? 22?
That's really, it's good that you made it through that. I mean, that sounds like I've only known you now as an adult, and you've been very pleasant and nice and a very like well-adjusted person, but
Thank you. I have my days. I think that troll in me still exists a little bit. I don't think people would say that troll is completely gone, but I definitely wasn't that troll at that time. And I don't know. I think maybe I was just having a bad day that day. I don't know why I did it that day, but I did.
And you did it, and this is the first time you're telling the world.
Yeah. I remember not even my girlfriend at the time knew. And I told her like a year later. It was like midnight on January 2015, I want to say. Like January 1st, 2015 at midnight. I was just like, Caitlin, I have to tell you something. I spit in the trash can. And then she started laughing super loud because it was like a big moment. Like, you have to understand that I was expelled from school.
That's
and
crazy.
I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Like, I was like, oh, fuck. I think I really fucked up my life. Like, my parents were like calling every day. My mom like wrote like this really long letter begging like the school to forgive me and stuff. Like, they required me to go to like a psych eval because they were just like, this is like a turbulent behavior. And then I was like, nah, man, I'm just trying to be a dick real quick.
Wait, so what did they take any action on the what's his name, Sean?
Lesson writer?
Yeah, because when you were forgiven, did they not think like, oh, he's making it up for some reason?
No, when I was forgiven, because I wasn't really forgiven. I mean, I still got banished from the dorms. Like, they didn't think that I was innocent. They were just like,
they just wanted to
people
like
spoke
quiet all the
behalf
kids.
on my character. Yeah, exactly.
I see.
That's kind of what happened.
That must have been. I feel like when something like that happens at graduation, you just get like huge cheers.
I got
Was it like
massively huge cheers because the story, like the kind of like story that everyone was pushing was he's almost done. Like,
Just
and
let
you guys,
him
just let him finish. So like,
and then you were
I
like,
finished.
God's not real.
Yeah, and then everyone hated me again.
Are your parents still religious?
Almost 1,000,000%, which isn't mathematically possible. But yeah, it hit a huge head when I went back for, I don't go back home often for many reasons. One reason is one of my best friends who I'd hang out with all the time committed suicide.
Oh man,
So
I'm
like,
sorry.
I just don't have a reason to go back there. And the other reason is they're deeply religious. So I think from the last time they saw me to now, I've just been pushed so far from the center that it really bugged my mom in a way that I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, that's rough. Was that recent with your friend?
My friend did it in 2014. So 2014 is like one of the worst years of my life.
My little brother committed suicide
Wow.
like in 2015, but my family moved out of that house.
Mm-hmm.
But every time like it's like it was near my high school, so every time I go back, like sometimes friends from high school want to hang out, and when I have to
Yeah.
drive through that town, it's very weird. I don't like going back.
Exactly. It just like it feels like being in a ghost town.
It is,
I
yeah.
don't know. It sounds cliche, but it's true. Like every time I go there, I'm reminded by like, because I would just go there and hang out at his house the whole time. Like that's what I did
Mhm.
anytime I went back home from college, and I just don't have that option anymore.
Man, well, that's rough. Religion is definitely something. My dad is like a born again, and that's something I don't agree with him on. And but obviously, like we'll still talk and whatever. But there's so many things.
I
that,
heard
like,
you tell a joke about it. It was very funny.
Oh, that's right. I think you
Mhm.
were at the UCB Inner Sanctum show, right?
Yeah. I want to ask you a very weird question.
Sure.
I don't know how to phrase this question, and I hope that it doesn't trigger something in you. What a way to preface this question.
I hope it does now. I mean,
Um,
please, for the listeners.
sometimes when I look at the news and like I see what's happening, I'm just like, man, yo, Dwayne's kind of lucky. Do you ever feel that like with like missing out on like this like Trump madness and like all this stuff that
Wait, sorry, say that again.
my best friend
Oh,
Dwayne, like
okay.
I'm just like
I thought
he's-
you were talking about like Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yeah,
I was
Dwayne-
like, hold on.
he is
Did
very
I miss something
lucky.
that happened to him?
but like I feel
Yeah.
like he's kind of lucky in the sense that he doesn't have to experience any of this.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that thought pop up?
That's interesting because I not that exact thought, but I've had a thought similar where I was like recently thinking, because I used to be like, oh, I wish my brother was still around. I could be like, it's gonna get better. But then all this stuff that's kind of happened pretty recently after that he passed away, it's been pretty bad. So there's a lot of times when I've been like, well, I don't know that I would have been telling the truth if I said it was gonna get better. Like,
Was he?
he was 17, so I think that would have been a hard time for him. I think
Yeah.
eventually, of course, like I do believe as you get older, you find better ways to deal with depression. And I
Yeah.
think especially for boys that age, I think it's really hard to get out of that once you're in it. Like
Mhm.
I think your brain is kind of different. So I think if you
Yeah.
can just literally like get past it, your brain starts shifting in a way.
Absolutely. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think like for Dwayne, what would have been really hard is just like, being like a gay Asian man. Like I've been like, oh man, you have no idea the awful shit that's waiting for you at the other end of this. Like,
I've thought that, but then I've also been like, because I lived in New York and I lived in LA, and I've been like,
there are places he could have went.
yeah, and of course there's communities, and I think there's things where I'm like, in high school it's so different, and I'm like, if only my brother went to college, I'm like, he would have cleaned up. Like, he was bi, he wasn't, but he was. I don't think he didn't say that it had to do with that. I think there was a lot of other stuff.
I feel like it's all mixed in. Yeah.
I'm sure it was affected, but yeah, sometimes I want to be like, man, if you just turn 18, I'll take you to a gay club.
Yeah,
you're gonna have way more fun as an adult. High school is not everything, but
it truly is just seeing someone else do it that makes you more comfortable. That's kind of what happened with that when I was in that unit. The only way I could get out of it was for this like a psychologist, or I don't know what the profession of the person was, but someone had to come in that room and talk to me, and if I cleared, I could leave, I could go home. It was a very terrifying time because like, fuck, what if I'm gonna be here for like a month? And then like I was like, man, my parents are gonna find out and all this stuff. But this big black woman came on in, and she just sits down, and then she just like, she asked me like, why do you want to kill yourself? And I was just like, well, I just feel like no one will accept me. And she's like, name someone who you don't think accepts you. And I said, my mom. I don't think that my mom will be happy, like, knowing how far from Christianity I am. And she kind of laughed. Like, this woman laughed in a weird way. I was like, why are you laughing? She's like, no one's mom thinks that they're doing good. Like, and that kind of, like, made me realize, like, okay, other people go through this, and it's okay that, like, my mom and I don't see like 100% eye to eye on everything. Because that's something that I thought was a massive failure in myself, mostly because of how much religion is just like honor your parents, and like a sign of like a bad son is, his relationship with his mother and stuff like that. Like that was like a haunting story. Like I till this day think that I may never find a life partner because my relationship with my mom is going to be like a huge mark against me. Like, I don't know. Isn't that like a thing that people say? Like, oh, you can tell how a man's going to treat you by how he treats his mother.
Yeah, but that's a very old timey saying. I have issues with my mom too. And my therapist, I think what shifted for me was when my therapist was like, she's never going to be the thing you want. So you should stop trying to do that. Yeah. And then I realized that she was right. Because I think what I was trying to do for so long was like, fix the relationship so that we could just be back to normal. But it's like after so long, it's like it's always going to be that way.
She is who she is because of her experiences.
Yeah, and then I just have to know, like, I can't look to that relationship for fulfillment. No. And then that helped a lot because I realized in my like love relationships, I was trying to mimic the relationship with my mom. Like I was always in a position of like seeking love, and like I always felt like I needed like punishment, like in order to feel like I'm earning the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then once I realized I was doing that, or like with the help of therapy, it helped a lot because I was like, oh, I don't have to repeat this relationship. She's still my mother. I can still love her, but I can distance myself and not turn to her when I need support because I won't get what I want. Because it's something that
she's not. Yeah. I think that's something I realized as well too. And like hearing you go through that is also kind of what I was talking about, which is just like, this is a lot more normal than I convinced myself in my head. And I think that like, I mean, I don't want to speak for like with your brother, but like I think that like with Dwayne, like if he could have gone to like Los Angeles or Austin, not McAllen, Texas, like, like he could have been like, oh, okay, this isn't a unique struggle. I think that's what like depression and suicidal thoughts can kind of trick you into, is like, I am the only person going through this.
Right.
And I don't know. It's something that's kind of wild.
Well, also feeling like you're never going to get out of it. But what I think with time, because I still go through like phases, but now that I've gone through like very low lows and then come out of it, and if I hit another low, I'm kind of like, I'm like, okay, I'll just have to figure out a way to like pass the time and not harm myself until I'm out of it. But
rewatch Community.
Oh, okay. I like that show.
It's a good way to get out of a low. I know I said that as a joke, but I meant it earnestly.
Oh, I thought you were gonna like say like there's some storyline in there, but I was like I was trying to rack my brain real quick, like which one was the depression episode?
You know what? There is a very good speech in there that I watch a lot when I'm very depressed, and it's in the episode when Joel McHale's character is trying to like impress one of the he meets the guy that Britta has like always been obsessed with, and then like he meets him, and this dude is not attractive, is a carny at a carnival, and he's just like, this is Jeff. And he's just like, this is the character? Like, this is the guy that you, like, this is the guy that broke you? And Jeff is, like, trying to, like, do everything he can to, like, get this guy to see, like, what the big deal is. And then, like, Jeff at the end of the episode gives this long monologue about how none of us are special. And that's kind of what makes us special.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, the go-to for me.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it, because then if nobody's special, then you can't be broken.
Yeah, and he's like, it's that shame that we all feel of
Right.
like,
Of like, why am I doing this wrong? Is why everyone seems to know what they're doing. And
but
it's
it's
like,
fake.
No, nobody knows.
It's all
They're just
fake.
at different points in their life.
Yeah.
Maybe know.
It's a beautiful speech.
That's true. Well, I really like that story, and I feel like we got to some insightful stuff.
Why not?
Thanks for sharing that with us. Do we have time for a game, Sammy? Oh, yeah. Okay. I have a game to lighten up the mood that's about confessions.
Did you feel like the mood got pretty dark?
I actually didn't feel that it got dark, but I...
The lights did go down.
Yeah, it went down, and everything did go inverse color, and maybe we're in the upside down. I'm not sure.
I've never seen that show, and I
really?
promise I never will watch it.
Actually, the second season is very... has some strong motifs of that are more anxiety than depression, but I connected to a lot based on just like how I've dealt with anxiety. I feel like they what's the word? Materialized a world that represents how anxiety feels like.
I love the 80s. I hate 80s nostalgia. I don't know. It's a weird
It doesn't
paradox.
feel
for me.
like
I love 80s
nostalgia.
music.
It feels like it exists on its own.
They literally wear a
I
Ghostbuster
know.
costume on Halloween.
But you can enjoy it without knowing any references.
It feels like literally them trying to be like, how do we make like the Goonies and like Sandlot and like
It is
everything
that.
just like
That's
in
true.
one? Like,
I have a weird thing now too. Whenever I watch stories about like, it sounds so weird when I say this. I don't mean it in a weird way, but whenever I see stories about like young boys, and I don't mean it in a weird way, but just like because of my little brother, I feel like I just like have this thing where I'm like, wow, I love this story about teenage boys.
You're putting him into it,
and because the main character in that does kind of go through like an isolation, feeling like he doesn't connect. So I'm like, oh,
you know, that's a very fair point. I don't feel that when I watch young boys.
What if I was just like out in the real world, like watching young boys crying, like just crying in the corner, like, oh, you guys go on, keep playing.
I think the worst thing to do is like go up to that young boy and be like, you remind me of my brother.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm pretty sure everyone would be like, let's get her out of here. Huh?
I can't do that, but my dad does shit like that, and nobody can get mad at him because you know he lost his son. But it's sometimes when he does stuff like that, I have to be like, oh my god, like he'll take pictures of like teenage guys that look like remind him of my brother, and he'll send them to my family, and he'd be like, met this young handsome boy today, reminds me of Harry. And I'm like, it's kind of sad, but it's also like I don't know, I want to like stop taking pictures of strangers.
Yeah, does he? Do you think he tells them
underage.
why?
I don't know. I'm sure he brings it up sometimes. And
are they sneak photos though? Or are they?
No. They're usually like posed. I think
Okay.
most of them are cool. That because my brother had cool hair, so it'd be like a kid with
so
cool
it's
hair.
kind of a compliment. Yeah.
Yeah, but I almost feel like it's not telling them. It's like he's probably just like, oh, I like your hair, and then secretly like, you remind me of my dead son.
Oh my god.
I'm like, no. I'm like, don't do that.
So
Anyways.
you said you wanted to lighten up the mood?
Yeah, let's play Dead Sons. All right. This game is called Craigslist Poetry or Taylor Swift Lyric.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward. There's a section on Craigslist called Rants and Raves where people can confess or say anything they want.
Sure.
Sometimes write poetry, maybe a budding young Jack Kerouac on there. Who knows?
Why not?
We'll find out. So I'm going to read a verse, and you can just tell me whether you think it's Craigslist poetry or you think it's a lyric from a Taylor Swift song.
Sounds fantastic.
Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Okay, here's the first one. Money on your books and a joke to you. That you got me for everything you could. I don't even know how to feel.
Taylor Swift lyric.
You're wrong. It's internet poetry.
Wow.
This is from the Craigslist Rants and Rave section in a post called Lost Without You.
Okay. Still
All right,
sounds like a Taylor Swift song to me. I'm going to guess Taylor Swift song every time.
Here's the second one. Okay. There are Taylor Swift songs in there. So, as we gaze into each other's eyes near the fire on the floor, let me show you what you can be behind the door.
Internet poetry.
Yep. Correct.
Okay, good.
That's 1 point. That is from a post called Vinaigrette. That talks about
Jesus Christ.
there's
Who
a whole
knows what that could be about?
analogy about dressing, and I don't know if it's an analogy. It could be real. Maybe they had some fun with dressing. Who knows? Anyways. All right, here's the next one. So I got some things to say to you. Ha. I seen it all, so I thought, but I never seen nobody shine the way you do.
Taylor Swift.
That's correct. This is from the song Hey Steven from Fearless.
Hey Steven, I've been holding back this feeling, so I got some things to say to you. I've seen it all,
That
so
ha.
but I've never seen
The pause on that ha is ridiculous.
All right. Yep, that's a real Taylor Swift lyric. But you got it. So, did you know that song?
No.
Okay, just a lucky guess.
Well, the ha is what gave it away.
Ha.
She has
Oh,
this
she does that.
performative stuff to her when she, like, you know what I mean?
Ah.
It's like she's aware that she's talking to an audience in all of her songs.
Yeah.
In a way that I don't
Steven in
like.
this case. She's
Mhm.
talking to Steven.
I don't like it. Sing your songs.
She has multiple songs that are just like, hey, and then blank name. She has
Yeah.
a Hey, Dear John.
Yeah. I like a fourth wall with my songs.
Mhm.
Don't break it.
You like to feel like it's like from a journal.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another one. You ask me for my love, then you push me around. Here's to you and your temper. Yes, I remember what you said last night.
I want to go with internet lyric.
That's incorrect. This is a Taylor Swift lyric
Wow.
from the song Tell Me Why. And here's the clip.
Want to believe it. You ask me for my love, then you push me around. Here's to you and your temper.
Wow.
Yes, I remember what you said last night.
I should have known because she's breaking the fourth wall in that song.
Oh, yeah, here's to you. Oh, I didn't even notice that all you. No, the first one was a second person. That's all of them. You got 1 out of 4.
No, I got 2 right.
Oh, you got 2. Wait, did you get 2?
I did get 2.
Oh, you got 2. Okay.
Thank you
This
for
is
having
another
my back,
case-
Sammy.
A case of, so, I don't know if this is another case of spitting in the trash can and lying about it.
I'll tell you 10 years
You
from
got
now.
2 out of 4, so that's 50%. So depending on how you see it, you either passed or failed. So
I think I definitely failed, right? 50% is a fail.
50% is a fail if you're grading papers.
But
it's
also-
a pass if you're, I don't know, probably somewhere.
this would be a bad quiz. Because
Oh,
even
it's
if I got 3 out of 4, that's still a failing grade.
It's a pass if you're, I'm trying to think on my feet and I can't. Oh, if you're like, did you cheat on me? And you're like, I only 50%,
Cheated?
then it's not a cheat.
Oh, man.
Like if you didn't do anything,
If
but
your
you thought
partner
about
came
doing
back to
it.
you and said, hey, I only 50% cheated on you, would you stay with that person?
50% cheating would mean the other person, like if I was out and another woman tried to do something, I said, no, that's 50%.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't cheat.
I
That
think
was
that's
halfway-
0%.
But that's
You didn't
halfway to
cheat.
cheating.
No,
well,
you
if I
didn't
had
do.
said yes, that would be the other 50%.
I
It
think
takes
that's
two to tango.
100%.
Anyways, I am single and you can date me if you agree with me. So,
Yeah, if you agree with her take on cheating, please reach out.
oh man.
At Teresa Lee on all social media.
Yeah, that is not correct. It is at Larissa T, LERESATEE. Edgar, where can we find you?
You can find me on Herald Night. I'll probably have the same demeanor I have now,
Mm-hmm.
despite what character I'm playing. I realized that yesterday. I played a woman, and I talked like this the entire time.
I gotta come to Herald Night more.
Because women can talk like this, so stop being
That's true.
sexist. Yeah. They can have a very low energy, dry, deep voice.
Go to Herald Night, especially if you're somebody that Edgar doesn't like, because he's guaranteed to kill it that night.
Yeah,
if
and
you're
it's
in the
going to feel
audience.
so good.
So,
Then you can find me on Instagram at Awfulgram. You can find me on Twitter at Edgar Momplaisir. You can also find me on the podcast Culture Kings on How Stuff Works, available wherever you get your podcasts.
sweet. And that's it for today. We're gonna set up a voicemail at some point, but I didn't do it yet. So, goodbye.